Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ciara Jessica Jerome if you are new here. And on my channel, I like to talk about biology and mental health. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how sound can affect me emotionally and also about how sound can affect the development of organisms through natural selection. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you've probably heard me talk about my system for wanting to share my notes for anatomy and physiology classes. As you can see, I'm pivoting from that and I'm focusing more on what I want to talk about, which is biology, how it pertains to my health. And if you're still looking for anatomy and physiology information, just send me a DM on Instagram or feel free to comment on any of my videos. And yeah, that's it. I just wanted to give a message to those who like my anatomy and physiology content. And with that, let's get into the video. What are sounds? Sounds are waves or vibrations of air that act similarly to touch. So when sound waves touch tiny bones in our ears, those tiny ear bone movements translate into auditory information that is sent to our brain. You can hear more about the biomechanics of sound in my previous video, Biomechanics of Sound and How I Listen. So for this week's video, I was thinking a lot about how different kinds of sounds affect me emotionally. And so I did some research on the internet about what kinds of sounds can produce emotional responses to people. And I'm going to read an excerpt from a research article that I was reading about how sound can affect people and different organisms. And it says here, researchers at McGill University in Montreal found that in test subjects who observed that a particularly good piece of music gave them chills, a PET scan measured the release of dopamine. As was said in the article, music can create very strong emotional responses and can be due to these dopamine release events. And in my studies for schizophrenia, I've also learned that the voices in my head can be due to random releases of dopamine events in my brain. As a piece of beautiful music can give someone chills and create an emotional imprint on someone, I feel like the voices in my head can do the same thing to me. I have this kind of visual in my head about my brain having random dopaminergic events happening in random places, but still being recognizable and emotionally in tune with myself. And when I supplement my hearing voices with music, the music seems to connect the dots of those random dopaminergic events happening in my brain. And it sort of creates like a mind map of what I'm truly feeling and what maybe the random voices in my head are saying about what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling at that very moment. And I hope all of that made sense, but that's what I think is happening in my head. While on the topic of music, I would like to narrow sound down into the topic of music. I just wanted to let you guys know exactly how music has affected my life. From a very young age, basically in elementary school, my dad gave me my first CD player and my first Britney Spears CD, which I listened to on repeat. And I moved on eventually to a PSP, in which I learned how to download music from the internet illegally. And then my dad gave me my first pair of speakers for my computer so I could play music really loud in my room. And then throughout middle school and high school, I participated in choir for 6 years. I danced on a dance team for 4 years, and I participated on drumline for 2 years. And I can't forget guitar. I played acoustic guitar for 10 plus years. You can say that music has been an essential part of my life, and I don't know who I would be without it. And I learned I've learned so much about other people's experiences through music. For example, I've learned about love, hate, jealousy, joy, sadness, death through music. And I would say music is a sort of education for me personally. And I'm sure other people think about that too. It's a medium where people can tell stories and share what they have gone through in a way that speaks volumes more than just having like a regular conversation. It can touch the hearts of so many people, and that's why I think music is so important to my life. Now you might be asking me, so what kind of music do you listen to, CJ? Well, it depends on my mood. I mainly listen to EDM, R&B, and rap. And so I'll just give you a couple of songs that kind of summarize what I like to listen to on the daily. So for when I'm feeling like I'm feeling myself, I feel good, I got good sleep, and I'm drinking water and I'm feeling healthy, I like to listen to some Kehlani. Kehlani brings me back to the Bay. No, Modesto is not the Bay Area, it's too far. And for when I'm feeling like love songs, teenage summery, young love, or whatever, I like to listen to Pink Sweats. And that's R&B. For EDM, I like to listen to Illenium and Seven Lions for when I want to listen to music that makes me want to cry. And I also like to listen to Jack U and Jackal for when I want to turn my current settings into trap settings. And for rap, I like to listen to Kanye when I'm feeling like Kanye. And I listen to Donald Glover when I'm feeling a little wild, like This Is America or Bonfire. And I like to listen to Chance the Rapper when I'm feeling super happy, and when I go running, I like to listen to Chance the Rapper because his music gives me a lot of energy. And I also like to listen to Chance the Rapper when, I want to take some prescription drugs because, acid rap, acid's a drug. No? Okay. Have you ever heard of the condition that is called synesthesia? The condition of synesthesia is being able to hear sounds and see colors. I definitely have that. Because I don't even think it's a side effect of having schizophrenia. I think it's just like a condition of being imaginative or having a strong imagination. For me, when I see sounds or hear colors, the best way that I can describe it is that when I'm listening to a piece of music, I can visualize what light patterns would match the beat of the music, or the melody of the music, or the harmony of the music. I think this is the easiest when I'm listening to EDM, And I'm sure producers of EDM shows have synesthesia because visuals that accompany sets, I think that's exactly what synesthesia feels like or sounds like, looks like. One of those. I can give you an example. If you look up the song that is called Feel Good by Millennium and Dea, that song definitely gives a sunset of every shade of pink that there is in existence. So that's what I think of when I listen to that song. And that's, I think, an example of a synesthesia visualization. Can sound have lasting effects on genetics for our survival? The answer is yes. It has been proven that repeated sounds can have lasting effects on generations of organisms and have caused animals to evolve to be more sensitive to specific ranges of sound. For example, dogs have evolved to be more sensitive to higher ranges of sound than the ranges of sound that can be heard by humans. Also, a fun fact of science that I just remembered. It has also been proven that plants are also sensitive to specific kinds of sounds. For example, a plant that hears insults and slurs and mean comments made by a human hears, I say hears when I mean exposed to, that plant will display signs of death and will eventually wilt and die. While a plant that is exposed to or hears constructive comments or very nice comments, constructive comments, or very positive, light-hearted sounds, that plant is more likely to thrive than the other plant. And I thought this was interesting to share when going over the topic of sound. Some sounds can trigger the fight or flight response in organisms, and those organisms' fight or flight instincts can be passed down through generations through survival of the fittest logic. An example of this would be with zebras. Prey animals like zebras have developed hearing to avoid being caught by lions, and the zebras who are best at hearing lions stalking them are most fit to survive, and therefore their offspring will also be endowed with that great hearing to avoid lions. And so it goes on and on to the point where zebras who hear the best are the best fit to procreate. This process for weeding out the zebras that are not naturally fit to survive is called natural selection. And that about concludes it for my effects of sound video for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you learned something new. And if you liked what you saw, please like or comment or subscribe or do all three. I appreciate anything. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!